Welcome to Parenting Solutions for Teen and Preteen Education and Behavior, the show for parents who want real root cause solutions for learning, stress, and behavior at home and at school. Hosted by educators Mike Tyler and myself, Ryan Kimball, each episode gives you practical tools you can use right away to get results. Before we dive in, grab our free ebooks, the Parent's Survival Guide, and the Good Choices booklet. Use the click here link right in the show notes. Okay, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today, Mike and I, your hosts, are going to be going over a subject that is actually pretty unknown as to its basic causes, even though sometimes it's thought that it is known or the apparent reasons are given for it. But we're going to be going over behavior and education and how different factors regarding education affect or even dictate behavior. So at the end, of course, Mike will be giving some real life solutions that a parent can use with their child right now, today, after listening to this episode. So be sure to stay tuned for that. So why don't you give us the 101 on behavior and education, Mike?
Okay, so the first thing to know is that this child's behavior is not strictly and only dictated by the parents. There are so many other influences on a child by the time they've been sent to school. There's the teachers, there's the other kids, there's the educational material that they're studying. All those things come into play. And so the parents can think that they are aware of all these factors, but it often goes way out of control and way out of view of the parents by the time the kids are in third, fourth grade, when they're coming home from school and saying, what did you study in school today? I don't know. Okay. They don't know what happened all day long. And so there are these other influences out of view of the parents. And it takes a lot of investigatory work to find out what's really going on. But of course, that's what we've been doing for what combined 50 years between the two of us, I think, is investigating these things and finding out what's really going on here. Little Jimmy, what's happening? And it by the time it gets into misbehavior, and here we're talking about just all the things that kids begin to do. They start to act a bit mean. They start teasing other kids. And this is where we touched on in one of our episodes, the bullying and being bullied. But then it goes into other things. It goes into skipping class or vandalizing things at school or playing tricks on other kids. Stealing their lunch. Where did they get this idea? Well, there's something going on there that's unseen, and that's the fact that the kid is many, many steps beyond being confused. They don't understand what's going on, and so they start acting out against the source of confusion, which is the school, the curriculum, the teachers. I hate the teachers. I hate school. Why are you sending me to school? Why do I have to go to school? All that sort of thing all stems from the fact that they don't understand what they're studying.
Okay. And while that is a very simple and direct statement, let's clarify and walk through each step of that. So how does this process of misunderstanding leading to bad behavior start? What is the inception of this?
Okay. Well, let's get into something like middle school, where the student is expected to be able to read, and it's assumed that they have the English skills to be able to take on new subjects, history, math, more advanced subjects. Well, those assumptions are faulty because in elementary school, they did not learn the elements of the English language. In fact, they probably didn't even know what elementary meant. Most kids don't. Okay. They don't really get oriented to what is happening. They're just sort of moved around, taught certain things, tested on those things. They do well or not well, and then they're moved forward from there. And they're never clarifying. The schools, the classrooms, the child themselves are not taught to clarify and back up and go, wait a minute, I need to back up and master this stuff. I only got a B. That's only 85% or whatever. I have to get 100%. I mean, you would not expect a child who could tie their shoes like 80 or 85% of the time. They need to do it well every time, right? And yet the expectations as we move forward in school go down and down and down and down to where like it's okay not to be really, really good at things. And so you start getting into their expectations. They want to be good at things, but they don't know really what they're learning about. It's not announced to them. They say, well, we're going to teach you geometry. What is geometry? Nobody explains this to them. And why do they need to learn it? And let's just take that one word apart. There are glossaries for these things. You can look up these things. You can help your child along the way. But if they don't know that geometry has something to do with geo means earth, and metry, well, that's measure. And it was a system that was devised to basically measure the earth and divide up the earth. You've got such things as property boundaries and that sort of thing that we know about later when we become adults and we're buying and selling houses and that sort of thing, or renting apartments or whatever. What's common property? You have to divide up the land, Well, that's geometry. And it has to be connected to something that they understand. They might not have some buried deep passion for learning how to divide up the land, but it can be brought to their attention that just in the normal business of life, they're going to need to know how to do this stuff. They're going to know how to divide up shapes and sizes and things, and you can find out what they are interested in and then relate the geometry to that. And the same is true of algebra. What does that word mean? Calculus, who knows what that means? Like all these different things. But if they're going to study it, they need to know that they can study it and study it extremely well. Because that's not done, they just pile on all this confusion. So they're doing the best they can. And they really are genuinely trying to do the best they can if they're making any effort at all. So they're caught in the situation where they're participating in something that doesn't really make any sense to them. They're being criticized for not knowing things, but then it's also not being taught to them. And so you get this whole reaction of acting out and misbehaving, and that just, whether that's throwing gumballs at the teacher while she's writing on the chalkboard, whatever it is, they're going to find some way to attack the source of confusion and upset. And that's where it really comes from.
Okay. Makes sense. And then, or doesn't make sense, but makes sense.
Right.
But once they are in this state where they have confusions and they're starting to act out, what's the progression from there as far as quality of education and behavior going forward in their educational years?
Well, like what happens? Like how far can it go? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah, I think so.
So most kids, I mean, innately, inherently, they are good people. Okay. There's no matter how many bad things that they're doing, it's not because they're you can't just say, well, they're a bad kid. Well, okay, they're doing certain things, but they have an inherent goodness in them that causes them to. They don't come home and announce, "Hey, Mom, guess what I was doing today? I was throwing gumballs at the teacher." They know that that's wrong, right? They don't announce this to you, right? So they're hiding these things. And so you get this progression of they're building up all these things that they've done all day long, all week long, all semester long, all year long. And it piles up lots and lots of secrets. You don't know about the gumballs that they were throwing. You don't know about the kicking the other kid's desk just because they felt like they needed something to do while the teacher was writing a bunch of gobbledygook on the blackboard. All these things add up, and now you've got a situation where the child and the parents, there's a total disconnect, and they're really sort of hiding all these things. And they really would like to quit school, and maybe they've tried, maybe they've skipped class, they got in trouble for it, they are punished, and now everybody's watching them even more closely, more scrutiny. Maybe they even have to go and stay after school for that special program, or go in on Saturday or whatever, for extra studies. All these little systems are developed, but they hate it. They hate it, and so what do they do to stay in that environment as a solution? They just start memorizing. Okay, and this is really where it goes south. It's like a big toboggan slide, because their grades were failing. They were not understanding things, but now they've got the screws are put to them, and so the discipline goes in, and now they've got to study. And so they start studying and memorizing and passing tests, and they develop all these tricks, and people teach them tricks for how to pass tests. Maybe the grades come up, and they're finally like, now this is being validated. Yay, the grades are going up. And so it's like, wow, this works. They can just memorize all this crap and write it all down and pass some tests. They went from getting D's and C's up to getting B's and B pluses. Occasionally they're getting A's, and it's like, well, this is great. But they are no participant to their education. They've not been participating. They've not been interested since third grade or something, or kindergarten, when they were doing fun stuff. And learning is fun. And learning now is no longer any fun. And all they're hoping to do at this point is get out of school. Okay. And some kids don't fall through this educational gap, and they do retain their interest, and they do want to go to college, or they do want to go to trade school or learn a craft, and that's what propels them forward. But even those kids can be helped because they were not held to a 100% total certainty standard on everything they were studying. They're just propelled forward by a passion, right? So all these kids can be helped. But the ones that are really going south and really misbehaving, and now passing tests and so forth, well, that doesn't mean that the misbehavior ends, okay? Because the passing test stuff is just a nice shield to hide behind while they're driving their grandpa's car into a mailbox, the big ones on the corner, and doing all kinds of things. These things, they just continue to happen. No kid wakes up one morning and says, writes down things that I'm going to do this week. I'm going to crash my grandpa's car. I'm going to steal money from my mom. I mean, this is not what, it's just they get caught into a trap. They don't know how to get out of it, right? That's what we could just talk about. How far does it go? Well, they wind up in jail, or they wind up doing this and that. They wind up as drug addicts. Sometimes they wind up dead. Okay. We've all heard the stories, and it does happen. I mean, it's a very unfortunate thing, but it really all comes from the lack of education. Okay. And that's the missing thing. They are not that kid who made all the bad choices that wound up dead. They're not a bad kid. They were no different than any other kid. They just were more confused. That's all. Just more confused. And when you're very, very confused, you do stupid things. That's all there is to it.
Wow. Such a powerful but simple concept. And honestly, I just have to say, for me, until I saw it in myself and many others, it was a bit of an unreal concept that not understanding these basic things, whether they were in life or school or usually early education, actually caused or directly affected the person so that they then were in these situations where they're committing, things they shouldn't be doing, or getting involved with people they shouldn't be, or doing the things that they know they shouldn't. It's almost magical when you go back and clear these areas up, that these other things just fall away.
It's true.
Just speaking from my own observation of that and whatnot. So, well, let's take a look at this then. Let's say a parent has a child who's involved in, various, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's just, vandalism of a minor nature, or whatever it is. How can they go from the child sitting in front of them, all upset, not wanting to participate in a conversation, to finding these early areas of misunderstanding and confusion? What's the process that a parent can actually apply?
The parents are going to have parents, whoever's handling this child. They're going to have to make it safe for the child at this point to basically confess or tell or fess up about whatever really is going on. Okay. And just like you can ask a crying child what they're crying about, what they're upset about, and continue to ask, well, what else are you upset about? What else are you upset about? Because these things ball up and get into a big, swarming mass. You can ask anybody, you can ask people on the street, but you certainly would be interested in asking your child, well, okay, well, what else have you done? What else did you do? Are you throwing? So you're throwing gumballs at the teacher. All right. Are you also smoking weed or taking, some other kid's medication? Or, I have never tried anything or done anything like that. Well, okay, well, what have you done? You can just, get it all out on the table. Find out what's going on. Let's make sure we've cleared the air. And it can't be so that they then get punished for it. Okay. And there might be some disciplinary steps that occur at some point or whatever. That's not what we're trying to do right now at this stage of the game. We just want to get the kid into communication. What have they been doing? What's going on? Let's clear the air. Let's see how far has it gone. Okay. Well, are you skipping school? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? All these things can be found out. That should be not take long. It's just a matter of being interested and making it safe for the kid to say what they've done. Who have they been hanging around with? They know what they've done. They'll tell you. It's not that difficult. And then immediately we go, okay, fine. You did all that stuff. Let's back it up. And we're always talking about backing things up, but it's not just a matter of okay, they're in 7th grade and their grades are failing, so let's hire some tutors, or let's get really interested in teaching them geometry or algebra or whatever it is that they're studying. Who cares about that, right? It's not what they were being taught last week that is the problem, okay? They don't have, if they're at this stage of the thing, we know that they don't have the study skills that should have been learned when they were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And so we have to back it up to that. We have to go back and master some stuff. Let's get them to master reading. Almost nobody has mastered reading. Okay? I mean, I work with adults, professionals, people with master's degrees, doctors, who still struggle with their studies because they are not experts at reading. You think this is, it happens all the time. You ask a medical doctor, how do your continuing education go? Well, it's always a struggle. It's just a bunch of words and stuff, right? So any kid, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 4th grade, wherever they're starting to go off the rails and get into misbehavior and stuff, they can benefit greatly by backing up and mastering the stuff that they never learned. Let's fill in those gaps. Let's find out what that is, and make them really proud to be extremely good at some simple basic things. And reading is universal, because no matter what they're studying, whether it's written text, they're studying, they're going online, even watching YouTube, YouTube University. Okay, they're still studying in English. Okay, and so let's make them expert at getting the information that they want. They want to know how to fix that lawnmower. They want to know whatever it is that they would like to be able to do. Okay, let's put them in control of the fact that they can go get that information, study it, and put it to immediate use. And let's make them expert at that. Okay, and it might start with, let's master setting the table the way that the parents would like them to set the table, right? Let's master that. Let's master, and it just goes out on a sphere of control from tying their shoes and helping to set the table to maybe they're really interested in cooking and helping out in the kitchen and stuff. Well, great. That's what master chefs are made from, are from people who want to do that. Well, let's help them along. Let's help them, or let's let them help bake those cookies, make those meals. And it might not be perfect to start with, but they can look, learn, and practice how to cook meals in the kitchen or help dad with whatever he's doing, right? Let's make them proud of being expert at certain simple things, and then just bring it forward.
So simple, very, very easy to apply. So hopefully any parents or young adults who are looking to learn faster or more effectively and are listening to this can take that and apply it. Be sure to not, I would just say, overcomplicate it, even though this sounds sometimes extremely simple. But like Mike was saying, and I love, he tells me these stories about doctors that he's tutoring, quote unquote, who are still having trouble with basic words and basic understanding of the English language, and it totally changes their ability to then apply and get better results in their practice. It's so useful for everyone. Okay, great. Well, let's leave it at that. Be sure to tune in to our next episode, and we'll have more value for you. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening to Parenting Solutions for Teen and Preteen Education and Behavior today. If today's episode helped you or resonated with you, please share it with a parent who needs to hear it. And don't forget, you can download our free ebooks, The Parent's Survival Guide and The Good Choices Booklet. Just use the click here link in the show notes. We'll see you in the next episode.